In this video, I'm going to talk about my faith journey that took me from a bad, just misbehaving young kid to a servant of God with a purpose, a mission, and all the trials and tribulations that God put me through to develop my faith, develop my trust in Him, to put me on the other side of this, somebody who's got a purpose, a mission, and a calling to serve others in a strong faith in Jesus Christ. Okay, so I'm going to start off with me being very bad as a younger kid. So when I was younger, probably about middle school, 6th, 7th grade, I was smoking weed. I was a young kid, like in middle school, I was smoking weed, hanging out with girls, doing bad shit, having sex. I was smoking weed, I was drinking, I was hanging around the wrong type of kids, sneaking out. When I was in 7th grade, I remember I took a cab to like the worst part of town to go to some party, and it was my friend's older brother's party, and they were drug dealers. It was crazy, and I'm not a guy really from the hard parts of town. My dad's a doctor, and I grew up in a nice house and go on a nice vacation, but I was hanging around the wrong kids, and it was my environment and my circle and the people that I was surrounding myself with that were leading me on a path astray. So what happened was when I was going to high school, my parents made the decision to send me to a Catholic school. And they sent me to this Catholic school, and I didn't want to go. My twin brother actually did not want to go at all, but I didn't really care too much because I wanted to hang out with those kids, but I was like, hey, I accepted it. This is where I'm going to school, whatever. And I remember it was a Catholic school, and we had religion class, and it was at this school that I was really first introduced to the idea of Jesus Christ. And I remember for me, I was not raised in a household that was very religious. We didn't talk about religion. We didn't talk about faith, prayer, none of that stuff. So going to Central, it was the first time I'd ever learned about Jesus Christ in religious class, who Jesus Christ is. Like, of course I knew, and you would say things like, oh, I'm a Christian, I believe in God, God first, God willing, and it's almost like performative Christianity, but I had never actually met people who were like believers and talked with them. And I'd been in church a couple times, but it wasn't real, okay? And I went to Central, it was real. We had religion class, we went to, we learned about, we had church on Thursdays, we had to go to Mass, we had to learn about God. And it was throughout this time that I had really started to learn more about God between freshman year and sophomore year, and it was leading into my junior year that I went to Central, and I was a big football guy. Like, I played college football at Mercer Christian University, and in high school there was something called 7-on-7 football. And if you've ever played basketball in America, AAU is like travel basketball. You play high school basketball, and then you have like an AAU team. 7-on-7 football is like AAU, but for football, where you just throw the ball and catch it. There's no line. It's not real. It's like you're just passing. It's just passing football. It's for like skill players to develop their routes, their whatever it is that they have. And I played that. And there was a coach there, Kevin Barlow, who was an all-pro running back for the 49ers, captain at Pitt Hall of Fame, like one of the best running backs in the area. I live in West Virginia. Up a little bit north is Pittsburgh, and it was like 50 minutes north of us was Pittsburgh, and I played for this 7-on-7 team in Pittsburgh because we didn't have it in West Virginia because it's West Virginia. And I met Kevin, and we, KB, and I played for his team, and he really introduced me to faith. He introduced me to Jesus and God and his story, and how through the NFL he was, had everything in the world, but then was left with nothing and empty inside, and the only thing that could ever fill that void of his was Jesus Christ. And learning, talking to him, and learning about class and reading and doing my own research, my junior year, about midway through the football season, I made the decision that I wanted to get baptized. So my sister's husband, so my brother-in-law, was a pastor. He was a preacher at the time, and I went to this person that I knew through the gym that I was going to, and I said, hey, I want to get baptized. Could I use your facility? And he was like, yeah, of course. And we went that day, and I invited Kevin. Kevin Barlow was at my baptism. I invited him, and I went that day, and I was like, hey, I want to do this. Like, I'm not a half-in person. I want to commit my life to this. And I went and I committed my life to Jesus Christ that day. And he said, do you accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior? I said, yes, I do. And he said, I baptize you in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. And he put my head under the water. And that day changed a lot for me, because if anybody's ever been baptized not as a baby, right? I had not been baptized when I was younger. I got baptized at 17. The way you feel after is like pure. And there was another guy I was watching on YouTube who mentioned this. He was like, dude, you can't even describe that feeling. It's like you're not even interested in the sinful ways you used to live in. You're not interested in the things you used to do. You're not interested in that type of living. It's just like you feel free, you feel clean, and maybe it's a symbolic aspect, or maybe it's something supernatural. The way that I felt, I couldn't describe how I felt. It was awesome. I felt clean, I felt fresh, I felt this love for other people, wanting to serve other people and just be a servant of Christ. So I got baptized, and then I just went the rest of my junior year, senior year, been more in faith, like really, like I've never been the same since the day I got baptized. Isn't that crazy? I've never been the same person since the day I got baptized. And everyone who's been baptized, like every day I think about God. Every day. It's crazy. It's crazy the way you feel when you get baptized. And every day I think about serving God and God in my life. It's so crazy the way you feel after you get baptized. Anyway, I got baptized, and after that, I had went through high school. I'd committed to go play college football at Mercyhurst, and this is getting in from how I got introduced to faith, my faith journey. After I got baptized, this is where, I really developed a closer relationship with God, more so than just thinking about him all the time. I went to play college football. It was in this time period of end of senior year of high school, that summer going into my freshman year of college, where I started to want to start a fitness business. I was thinking about business after, high school sports. I'm like, what do I want to do with my life? I'm going to go to college, obviously football, but I was thinking NFL at the time, but I was like, what do I fill my time with, right? What are you going to do? So I started getting into business content and looking at that type of stuff. And I started thinking about my own fitness business. And it was in this timeline where college football came around, and I had started making a little bit of income with my fitness business. If you look at the early stages, I was at Mercyhurst, I was college, and then I decided that I wanted to pursue business because I had done pretty well just in a little bit of time I'd been putting into my business. And I decided that 4 years from now, it was either you're going to play in the NFL or you got to have a business to make the income you want, the life you want, the have your own control over your income, right? Because and that's why I learned, I'm in school for strength conditioning, but what I learned was if you're a strength coach and you want to work with high-level athletes, most people think, I want to work with athletes. But you're an employee if you do that because you work for the college or you work for the NFL. If you want to own your own business and actually create an impact and build your own product and serve other people and actually be able to make a difference in people's lives, not just be an employee with no say, then you have to own your own business. And when you're doing that with strength conditioning, you're not coaching the athletes, you're doing what the parents want you to do, and your parents are paying you, and it's really not a business that I wanted to be in. Naturally, the way, fitness goes is people, hey, can you help me lose weight? Can you help me build muscle? I see you're into fitness, right? So for me, I naturally transitioned into helping people with general fitness. And then what happened was I had moved home to pursue this. And it was in this time where I kind of didn't have a ton of direction. It was the first time I didn't have a lot of direction in my life. And I remember I would always pray this prayer, but I didn't realize this is what was happening until after. And I said, God, put me what I need to go through to be who I want to be. I would always say this. Put me through what I need to go through to be who I want to be. And I would say this prayer, and after I moved home, I had never really been tracking my nutrition as much as I should be, so I put on 61 pounds. And I had no football, so I had nothing to do all day. I didn't know what to do. My business wasn't working. I was around my parents who were like, what are you going to do? Your business isn't doing any money. You're not making any money. You're not doing this. You're not doing that. And I was with a girlfriend at the time, and she wasn't supportive. She said, what are you going to do? It's okay. It's okay. I was surrounding myself with people who were not business-minded, were not fitness-minded, and all these areas of my life that I loved, I let their doubt creep in, and I almost quit my business. I ended up switching my major to business. I was working at a law firm as a paralegal because I wanted to go to law school. I'd been convinced I needed to go to law school because fitness isn't a real business, blah, 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 blah. And I got to one of the lowest points in my entire life where I was 61 pounds overweight. I was in a relationship that I knew I didn't want to be in because I wanted to pursue my business. Deep down, I knew I wanted to have a business and help people with fitness, but I didn't really know what it was going to be because I hadn't really had a ton of success. And I had no football, I had no purpose. I had switched my major from exercise physiology, something I loved, that I absolutely loved, and I didn't have any direction in my life. And it was at this moment, and this is why I'm so passionate about fitness and helping men get in shape, is because I made the decision that I need to get back into shape. And I was on vacation, I had a moment where I looked at myself in the mirror, and it was after I had brought all these clothes on vacation, and none of my clothes fit. And I reached down to get more clothes, and my gut was hanging over my waistband. I looked at myself in the mirror, and I was insecure having sex with my girlfriend all week, and I looked at myself in the mirror, and I hated who I was. And at that moment, I decided I'd never be overweight again. I lost 61 pounds in 5 months, got in ripped, shredded shape. My friend Trey from high school football hit me up and said, Riley, I saw that. I want you to help me. Helped him lose 42 pounds in 4 months. Changed his life. He said, Riley, you changed my life. At that moment, I decided I was going all in because I saw the impact that fitness made on me, the impact it made on Trey. I had a client result, I had a testimonial. He said he changed my life, and I changed somebody's life, and I got paid to do it. And that's when I decided that I wanted to be in the fitness business of men's weight loss. January 2025, I went all in. I broke up with that girlfriend, went all in on my business, moved up to college so I could have my own mental space. 2025 was the greatest year of my life. My business blew up. Absolutely blew up. It was at a certain point throughout this year that I was thinking about this. I saw this. It says, if you prayed to God to be courageous, He would give you monsters you're scared to face. If you prayed to God for wisdom, He would give you problems that you struggle to solve. And I remember back to that prayer that I had about, God, put me what I need to go through to be who I want to be. And I think of all this, my family not supporting me, being overweight, having to overcome this, having to leave a girl that I was in love with, almost quitting my business, to then getting in the best shape of my life, getting rid of the people who were not mentally for me in my business, finding my purpose in life, going all in on what I knew was right. I had to go through all of that trial, that tribulation, that stress, that insecurity, that doubt. I had to overcome all that through action and proving to myself I could do it, proving to myself that I had what it took. And that was what God was testing me for. He put me through every single thing I needed to be the coach, the entrepreneur, the person that understood what my clients are going through, understands what it takes to get over it, but also to have the mental rigidity in my business to not quit, not get distracted, to understand why you're doing this, to have a purpose, a vision, a drive, to now be in a place right now where I have a business built on serving others in my faith. How about that shit? So now, I'm an online fitness coach. I'm wrapping up. I'm going to be a full-time entrepreneur here. And I run a fitness coaching business where I help men who are, working long hours, who are stressed, who, have kids, who are wanting to get healthy, wanting to lose weight, wanting to get in amazing shape for themselves. They want to have more energy. They want to have more confidence. I want to help, men transform their lives through fitness and get the same thing that I got when I lost weight and got my confidence back and got my drive back. The same thing I helped Trey with. That's what I do now. So that's been the journey of my faith. If you're kind of in a position that I was and you can relate to my story or Trey's story, you can click the link below and apply to work with me directly, or you can, follow me on Instagram, connect with me. There'll be something in the description that'll be a call to action or something. So you can check that out, and hope this was valuable, and that was the journey of my faith. Let's go.